Hi there, and welcome to How to Fight Writer's Block and Win, where we will talk about the 4 tools of a creative warrior. Though, to start out, I've got a little bit of bad news. Creativity doesn't just show up when you need it. I know, pretty rude, huh? If that makes you make this face or this face, you're not alone. But don't worry, there's also some good news. There are 4 proven writing tools that you can use to create more and more consistently, even if that pesky muse isn't cooperating. And we're going to talk about them today. They are the same tools that I use not only for myself, but in my workshops. And Jessica took one of my workshops. This is how she felt after. Being able to attend your workshop gave me a kickstart to some memoir writing that I've been wanting to do for a long time. That little piece I did gave me the kick in the pants I needed. We love kicking people in the pants. Patrick finished a piece he'd been working on for 3 years and recently won National Novel Writing Month, meaning he wrote 50,000 words in a month. And he said, I have you to thank for it. Yes, these tools worked for Jessica and Patrick, but will they work for you? These tools will work for any type of writer with writer's block, whether you're working on your first novel, short stories, a nonfiction book to grow your business, essays, a children's book. If you're feeling stuck, inspired, at a loss, blah, and if you're feeling blah, you know what I mean when I say that. If you dread sitting down at your computer, this training is for you. It's for anyone who is struggling with their writing because yes, writing can be a struggle, but it doesn't have to be. And if you want to do something about it, by the end of this training, you will have 4 tools to help you fight writer's block. And at a quick glance, those 4 tools we're going to talk about are prompts, structure, yoga, and community. You will have a plan for fighting writer's block, and you'll learn a secret that very few people know about how to fight it. And that secret might be on the screen right now. Why am I so confident that these tools work? Because I've seen them work for people like Jessica and Patrick, and they also worked for me. And who am I? I'm Allison Spooner. I am a creative warrior, and that means that I fight for my creativity because I know it's not just going to appear when it's most convenient for me, unfortunately. I am also an author and then some. I'm a certified yoga instructor who uses yoga as a tool to fight for creativity. Hint, hint. I've written and published 2 books of flash fiction and a book about winning the war against writer's block, and I'm published in multiple anthologies. I've finished a novel over COVID using many of the tools we'll talk about today, and I'm now exploring publishing options. I've led and continue to lead workshops on using flash fiction to fight through writer's block, on using fiction to face trauma, and more. I founded the Creative Warrior brand and have a YouTube channel where I provide many of the tools from this training, including yoga flows to nurture creativity. But once upon a time, I looked like this. I spent 5 years stuck in a creative rut, fighting with writer's block, unable to finish anything. I mean, anything. I wanted to write a novel. I wanted to be J.K. Rowling before all that Twitter stuff. But how was I going to do that if I couldn't even finish a story or find an idea that got me more than a few pages? Soon, I didn't even want to write. I started to lose confidence. And if I didn't want to write or couldn't, was I even a writer? The worse I felt about not finishing anything, the less I wanted to write. And if I didn't write, who was I? I'm sure you can all relate to that feeling. And Nick Miller here in this GIF. We all get writer's block at one point or another, but no one really talks about what it can do to your identity as a writer or how hard it is to find solutions that work for your life. I felt like I was trying everything, but nothing was helping. And then I had my very own plot twist. I started entering flash and short fiction writing contests online, and I discovered prompts and structure in the form of deadlines, word counts, and more. Suddenly, I was writing again. I started writing stories using these prompts and this structure, and you know what happened? I started finishing things. A few at first, and then more. And once I started, it was easier to keep going. Eventually, I realized I had dozens of flash fiction stories lying around. So if you're waiting for that magic moment where I break out of my rut and start creating again, that was it. I was out. I just didn't realize it at the time. That was when I realized I had written a book. I had done the thing I wanted to do. I took those stories, compiled them into 2 separate flash fiction collections, and published them. And then I kept going and finally completed that novel. Today, I've written 4 books. After 5 years, I accidentally stumbled across the tools that helped me get out of my creative rut. I realized that my goals and the tools I used to keep writing had to fit in with my life or they would never work. They had to be simple or they would never work. I discovered how to create more and more consistently, and today I'm going to share those tools with you and teach you how you can use them to fight writer's block and win. Because you don't have to stay stuck. Patrick and Stephanie, 2 very busy people, took advantage of some of these tools, and this is what they had to say. Patrick said whether it's offering advice and encouragement or sharing writing prompts or working through a block, Allison had nurtured my muse, driving me to keep creating. She's a fountain of inspiration and enlightenment. And Stephanie said, because of Allison's flash fiction writing prompts, I rediscovered my love of creative writing. Her gentle reminders to nourish one's creativity helped give me the courage to make writing a priority. It's become one of the most valuable tools in managing my mental health. I love that. And you can see the same results as Patrick and Stephanie and other creative warriors have seen. You just need to do the work. So we're going to start with prompts, and you can think of writing prompts like an invitation into a world or topic, a suggestion to get the wheels turning. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Almost every single story in both of my books was written using prompts. And actually, that's not really that big of a secret. I tell most people who ask me about inspiration because using prompts to get inspired is nothing to be ashamed of, especially if you're having trouble. Coming up with ideas used to be my Achilles heel. With all the ideas in the world to choose from, I would flounder and not create anything. And then I discovered prompts through one of the contests I entered. I was given a prompt and a genre. That genre was sci-fi, which made me a little nervous, but I had a little inkling of an idea that in the past I had not been able to finish, and that prompt gave it shape, turned it into a story. So all you need to do to use prompts is seek them out, which is easy. You can find them online. There are books completely devoted to writing prompts, Or you can go to my YouTube channel, Creative Warrior. The address is right on the screen there. And I have a whole playlist of prompts, and they're actually structured in 25-minute writing sprints, which connects to another tool we'll be talking about later. And prompts can be anything. You can use anything as a prompt. 3 words, a sentence to finish, a concept. And don't be afraid of what they inspire, because they work. Just take it from Celine, who said, "I love your writing prompts. They really resonate with me and are really making a difference in my life." Just adding this one thing to your writing can make a huge difference. Prompts can help you create original content when you are stuck for an idea, have too many ideas, or just don't know where to start. So what do you do when you have the prompt? The next tool we're going to look at is structure. The contests and events I attended helped give me structure by offering something I didn't have before: word limits, deadlines, genres, and more. So to get yourself started with a structure, we'll talk about a few parameters you can set, starting with a word limit. Using the word limits from the contests I entered is how I discovered flash fiction. This type of fiction is a complete story in less than 1,000 words. I also attended events where I got a word limit of 440 words. These word limits were music to the ears of someone who had been trying to write a novel and failing. The idea of writing 50 to 100,000 words was overwhelming to someone who had barely written any. Enter flash fiction. 1,000 words? I could do that. Less than 500? Totally doable. Using word limits when writing is like the A in SMART goals. It's attainable. When you're setting goals for yourself, you're only setting yourself up for failure if you go too big too soon. So if you're struggling to start writing, don't put the pressure of a novel or even a short story of 10,000 words on yourself. Start small, start with 1,000 or 500. And another part of that structure is deadlines. A little pressure is good sometimes. Just like I won't start if I have all the ideas in the world to choose from, I also won't start if I have all the time in the world to create something. I often wait until the last minute and thrive on a deadline. And if some of you can relate to this, tight deadlines could really help you. If there's no rush or no last minute, you might never get anything done. The contests I entered offered really tight deadlines of 24 to 48 hours. And when I had to have something done, I did. And it was amazing what I could finish. Stuff I was pretty proud of. Stuff that made it into my books. I slowly realized structure was not the enemy. In fact, I created more and more quickly when I had a structure to guide me. And I just want you to remember that structure does not stifle creativity. And this GIF doesn't really go with that concept. I just thought it was pretty funny, and I like Ron Swanson, so you're welcome. To many writers, myself included at one point, structure was the enemy. It stifled creativity. The muse should be in charge, right? We cannot write until the muse blesses us with their presence. But what if the muse never shows up? Don't sit around and wait. Use structure to fight for your creativity. Using word limits, deadlines, and prompts can give you a structure that helps you create more effectively and more reliably. So moving on to the next tool, yoga and movement. Yoga gets the energy body moving, and the energy body is the source of creativity. At about the same time I was discovering contests and these new forms of structure, I discovered an unblocker in the form of movement, more specifically yoga. And I call the years since I've been doing yoga some of the most creatively productive years of my life. I didn't start doing yoga to feel more creative, but the more I did it, the more creative I felt. And there are reasons for that. It was especially inclined to stick with yoga when I discovered that through the sacral chakra, yoga can actually help nourish your creativity. So let's look at some of the ways that it works. But first, if you're thinking, I'm not flexible, so I can't do yoga, because a lot of people do, let me introduce you to mountain pose. And we're actually going to do this pose. Yep, right now. So go ahead and stand up wherever you are. Don't worry, it's going to be super easy. This is the pose in the picture. So you're going to stand up, and you're not going to be able to see my whole body in the camera, but you can see it in the picture. We're going to plant our feet on the floor about hip distance apart, pushing the feet into the floor, up and away from the ground to actively engage the leg muscles. Keeping the knees slightly bent, we don't want to lock them. Moving up through the body, engaging the muscles in the legs, the thighs, all the way up to the center, where we'll pull the belly button back and up toward the spine to engage the core, to support the rest of the body. You can let the hands fall to the side, palms facing forward. Moving up, we'll pull the shoulders down away from the ears rather than scrunch like we might find them throughout the day. Pulling the shoulder blades together behind the back, moving up, all the way to the top of the head, almost like imagining you've got a string at the top of your head that you're trying to pull up toward the ceiling. So the top of your head is pulling up toward the ceiling to engage and invite length through the back of the neck and the spine. And just that simple movement might cause you to feel a stretch through the sides of the neck, the top of the shoulders. And there you go. Now just take an inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and you are doing yoga. You just did yoga by standing in a conscious, strong stance, focusing on the breathing and turning the attention inward. Can it be hard? Yes. Does it have to be? No. But writing can also be hard. Like anything, it just takes practice. And when you use yoga as a creativity tool, the benefits aren't just in the body. Yoga can help in so many other ways. Just by standing strong and breathing like we just did, we can increase our energy by increasing blood flow and oxygen to the brain and improve mindfulness. Being mindful means having an awareness of our present thoughts and feelings without judging them or reacting to them. It teaches us to observe our emotions without labeling them as right or wrong. And for writers and creatives, that's huge. Mindfulness can help us release our false beliefs, help us stop judging ourselves, and make room for creativity. Before you dismiss yoga as a tool for creativity as woohoo or not logical, science actually shows that yoga can help the brain and in turn increase creativity. So yoga can also help strengthen the brain. It might be hard to quantify creativity, but exercise and movement increase the heart rate, which pumps more oxygen to the brain. It aids in the release of hormones, which provide an excellent environment for the growth of brain cells. Exercise also promotes brain plasticity by stimulating growth and new connections between cells in many important areas of the brain. So if exercise is so great for the body, why yoga? Yoga does what we've already talked about, but also stimulates the chakra system. Now, really quickly, in case you're not familiar, which most people aren't, chakras are energetic centers in our body primarily located along the spine. These centers are like wheels and ideally keep spinning at a balanced pace all the time. When they stop spinning or get blocked, there's generally trouble. Each chakra is responsible for different emotional and physical functions, but the sacral chakra, located behind our belly button, is known as the creative chakra because it impacts our ability to create. If it's out of whack, you might experience a creative rut, Yoga, particularly specific poses, can help stimulate that center and help your creativity flow more freely. If it's blocked, you might also feel things like loneliness and anxiety, a lack of enthusiasm or pleasure, emotional instability, extreme mood swings, and worst of all, a loss of imagination or lack of creative inspiration. There's also a chakra that impacts our ability to communicate, which we're not going into a ton of detail today, but the throat chakra is responsible for communication, self-expression, and the ability to speak your personal truth. So it's pretty important for a writer. So now that you know that you can do yoga and that it can help you be more creative, go check out some of the flows on the Creative Warrior YouTube channel and see how they make you feel. Our next and final tool is community. Now, during the turmoil of my creatively stuck years, that was when I found a group of writers, and that was when I really started to make some progress. The community I found then would turn out to be an imperative during future bouts with uncertainty and fear, because as Steven Pressfield says here, the human being isn't wired to function as an individual. We're wired to act as part of the group. So as much as writers would like to think we are meant to be solitary, having a community can really help us thrive. So you can find your community by seeking out a writing group. Just seeing others facing the same challenges as me and pushing forward despite them really helped me. The vibe that's created when you're just sitting with other writers who are creating, who might also be struggling and talking out their struggles, seeing so many people determined to create and reach those goals, it's pretty inspiring. If you don't like the idea of a writing group, finding a writing partner can be a great way to bounce ideas around, get feedback, or just have a sounding board. It's a good idea to have a partner that writes in the same genre as you or likes writing and reading the same things as you. Because if you have a partner that likes romance and you write dark fantasy, you're probably not going to be able to offer each other helpful feedback, and it might just get frustrating. Trying to get past a plot hole or find the next word that you want can be infuriating, especially if you're doing it alone. So if you need help finding a community, you can join the Creative Warriors group on Facebook. We write together, encourage each other, and it's all virtual unless you're local and want to meet up. So just find groups on Facebook and search for Creative Warriors with an S if you would like to join. So right now, I want you to think about your writing life, because at this point, you have two choices to make. You can continue to seek out your own prompts or sit and try to come up with ideas from nothing, try to create your own plan and structure and work writing into your life on your own while struggling to finish things and feel lonely and continue feeling like Lisa Simpson here. Or you can get a personalized writing plan, identify and overcome your most common blockers, finish work, and have a plan that works with your life so you can keep finishing things and start getting down like our pal Kermit here. So how can you feel like a Kermit and not a Lisa? Which is not a sentence I ever thought I would say. By starting with a call and chatting with me. Since I got back on track and started writing again, I have been passionate about helping others do the same because I know it can be done. I love hearing stories about creative warriors pushing through their blocks and continuing to write. So I can't wait to find out what's stopping you from finishing things so that we can work together to push through those challenges. There's nothing better you can do for your creativity than create a plan that will work for you and your life. And that means booking a call with me to start your journey. Maybe it goes somewhere like it did for Patrick and Stephanie, who started finishing things. In this call, we'll chat about your writing goals. We'll talk about what challenges you might be facing in achieving those goals and some next steps you can take to fight writer's block and win. But hurry, because I only have so many hours in my day, so call spots are limited. I have truly enjoyed my time talking to you about these tools because I love talking about them. So I hope I get to continue the conversation. So just use the link in the description of this video if you're ready to take your next steps with me and have a conversation about fighting for your creativity. Thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me, and I hope to chat with you very soon. Now go fight for your creativity.